Welcome back, everybody, to another I'm glad I'm not getting sentenced for murder episode of Lockdown 23-1. That's right, today we're traveling back to Michigan, I believe. Yep, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Vincentea Mansfield will be sentenced for the 2023 murder of Edward Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy was found shot in April 2023 in the 400 block of Warden Street Southeast in Grand Rapids. Law enforcement responded and found Kennedy inside a home. Despite life-saving measures, he died from his gunshot wounds. Now, in this case, the defendant's going to be claiming his innocence the whole time, pretty much saying it was self-defense. At least that's what I read from the article. I haven't seen the sentencing yet. Also, by reading the article, I can tell it's going to get a bit spicy, and we're probably going to see something that we've never seen on this channel before. A judge having regrets about a past decision he made when it comes to this defendant. It is definitely a crazy turn of events. So let's get right into it. If you enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today.
Your Honor, this is docket number 23-11116FC, People v. Vincentea Mansfield. He's represented by Attorney Jason Jansma, Travis Early on behalf of the people. Your Honor, the people have had the ability to review the pre-sentence report and information, as well as guidelines that do apply to one of the charges. We have no additions or corrections to that. And at the appropriate time, there are two victim representatives that would like to address the court. Thank you.
Very well, thank you. And Mr. Jansma, would you place your appearance on the record, please?
Jason Jansma on behalf of the defendant, Mr. Mansfield.
Very good. And as a preliminary matter, Mr. Mansfield, I did receive your improper motion for a new trial. That is denied. I have a copy of the order that I will submit to you at this time. And Mr. Jansma, I did receive initially word that you objected to the PSIs that did not contain guidelines for homicide in the first degree.
Your Honor, what happened was for some reason I was under the impression there was an additional conviction for CCW, which wasn't the case. That's the issue I had, and then I informed Mr. Early that I had no issues and I was ready to proceed with sentencing.
Okay, very good. Nothing else to address with the PSI then?
No additions or corrections, Your Honor.
Very good. Then why don't you and your client stand off to the side? We'll hear from the victims' reps at this time.
Now the court's going to hear a couple victim impact statements. Typically it's their family members, expressing their pain and asking the judge to give them the max. But I bypass those typically because I feel like they're more on a personal note. And I try to be as respectful as possible, so let's jump right into the justice side of things. Sentencing.
All right, we can return Mr. Mansfield at this point. And any additional statement from the prosecutor prior to sentencing at this time, Mr. Early?
Only, Your Honor, that we request the court to impose the mandatory sentence by law. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And I will note, Mr. Mansfield was on probation to me as well. So along with this, I'm going to have to take a plea to a probation violation and sentence on that probation violation. So there's quite a bit of sentencing to be done with Mr. Mansfield. A lot of it obviously secondary to the primary charge of first-degree murder here. So,
all right, so I don't know if he's going to dive deeper into what he said, but I remember reading about this in the article. The defendant was on probation through this judge, and he gave him a later date to turn himself in because he got shot. And while he was out there healing when he should have been in jail, he killed this man. So I don't know if the judge is going to dive into that part a little deeper, but he tapped into it a little bit by saying that he was on probation through him.
With that, Mr. Jansma.
Yes, Your Honor. As the court is well aware, my client maintains that this was done in self-defense. He's indicated that the victim pulled a gun on him and he had to act in self-defense. The jury felt otherwise, and now he's been convicted of first-degree murder and is facing a life sentence. So that's where we're at, Your Honor. I'm not aware of the probation violation issues. Is that something the court's planning on dealing with today, or is that something down the road?
No, I would just as soon deal with it today. Based on this conviction, I can take a guilty plea to the violations of probation here and revoke probation. And in fact, I think I can, just based upon the conviction, I can revoke probation at this time, unless Mr. Mansfield wants that done in a separate proceeding for some reason.
You do it right now.
All right. Well, Mr. Mansfield, you were on probation to me at the time. This is actually a good lead-in for it. It was a case of a single count of possession of weapons or ammunition by a felon. One of the conditions of probation was not to violate any law of Michigan or any other state. You stand here convicted today of murder, homicide in the first degree. Do you want to utilize that as a basis to enter a guilty plea on the violation of probation at this time?
Cool.
Use your prior conviction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then I will find you guilty of the probation violation today. I will sentence for that along with my sentencing on the homicide case. So, Mr. Jansma, anything additional by way of elocution?
No, Your Honor.
Hell yeah, I got something to say.
All right. Yeah, and Mr. Mansfield, now is your time to say your piece.
Oh, man. If I were to guess by the way he's chewing that fake spearmint, he's got a lot to say.
Hey, I've been trying throughout this whole trial, get rid of my lawyer, you didn't allow it. It was on record. Throughout trial, it's been stated that the victim had a gun, poured a gun on me. I defended myself, the victim's family know he had a gun. I know the court know, that's all that matters. Like how y'all hit me with first degree premeditated murder. The elements don't fit the crime.
Well, and I know you're going to take that up on appeal, Mr. Mansfield, as is your right. But today's the day for sentencing on the crime that the jury convicted you of. So, all right, and on that case, count number one. This is case 23-111.
You got to remember, once you get to this point, trial's done. You can say what you want to say, but it ain't going to deter that train smoke on its way.
This is case 23-11116-FC. Count one is open murder, homicide, and the jury did find you guilty of that. And my impression of the case is that your argument that this was self-defense was nonsense. You shot this guy in the back.
I never shot him in the back.
Okay, well, I heard the medical examiner said that there was a bullet entry wound in his left rear shoulder. So, you can take it up on appeal, do it. But I said, as I heard that testimony in court, I thought, how in the heck does that equal self-defense? I'd challenge you to think about that a little bit because you got some splaining to do. If, that's the case, that you don't think you shot him in the back, but the facts look different from where I sat, and I also think they look that way from where the jury.
The bullet went through his shoulder.
You're welcome to argue that on appeal, but I also know bullets go in and out, and it said left rear shoulder was the entry wound. So, I say, you can't make a real good claim of self-defense when you shoot someone in the back. And then when I thought about this, I certainly agree 100% with his mom who testified today. He said this was totally senseless. And I take part of the responsibility for it. I remember I had you in front of me on that probation violation. I think you were healing up from a gunshot yourself on your leg. And you said, Judge, I just need a couple of months. Let that heal before I do my jail time, and I gave you a delayed report date, and the thanks I get is, well, A, you shouldn't have had a weapon, B, you shouldn't have been at this house where there was a drug party going on, and C, you definitely shouldn't have committed the homicide. Had I done the straightforward thing and sent you to jail, and let you heal up in there, well, I have to bear part responsibility for this too, because I let you out in the street. And another, mistake I made along the way here is, there was a conflict involving one of the women at the party. And your impression was that the victim had beat her up or something like that. Now, her testimony in court was, no, I got in the middle of the fight and then my Edward
It's
came.
cool what she said.
Okay, well, no, I don't want to hear from you, Mr. Mansfield. I'm going to tell you what I heard at trial. She said, well, he snatched me out of there. Two of us fell to the ground. She had grabbed a bottle of pepper spray somewhere, and that kind of went off on the ground, and it got in everyone's eyes. And so Mr. Kennedy and girlfriend and another friend were all in that house, you know, trying to get this pepper spray out of their eyes by the sink. And that's, at least as far as I can tell, you see that going on and you think he's beating up on her, and come in and shot him in the back. And you know why he did that? Well, you know, when I looked at those pictures, he's a bigger guy than you. I think you just didn't think you could take him in a face-to-face fight. Shot him in the back, and even with that gunshot in him, he kept coming after you, it looked like, because you guys came across the kitchen, you know, before he fell to the ground in the place where he ultimately died. You put a couple more shots in him. That was all, you know, unfortunately, you know, the short time it took to end the life of Mr. Kennedy. And I also look at Mr. Mansfield, you know, you wonder why they're not buying your argument that he had a gun and that your life was in danger. Well, you got to look at the fact that you never told the truth about this darn thing from the outset. You said, I wasn't even at Warden. Okay, well, I was at Warden, but Butter, the guy you were riding with, shot this guy. Okay, well, I shot the guy, but it was self-defense. You know, at some point, when you change your story a bunch of times, the jury starts to say, you know what, can't believe a word out of his mouth.
Yep.
And I think that happened here, too. And, you know, but none of it can change the loss. Edward, you know, he was a son, and his life totally didn't need to get taken. You did hear his girlfriend's testimony. She didn't feel like she had been hurt or needed him dead at that point. She was standing beside him washing the pepper spray out of their eyes. She kind of understood why he pulled her out of the fight. You know, he just didn't want her to get caught up in this fight between women. So I hope that someday, you know, I'm going to give you the maximum sentence here, which is the mandatory one, which will have you in prison until you die. My hope is
welcome
that,
to Sizzlers.
you know, someday during that time, you reflecting on this can come up with the courage to do the right thing and to beg his family for forgiveness. And that's not today, and they may not be ready to hear that today, but I'll tell you, this was a young man that didn't need to die, and he definitely didn't need to die in the way that you killed him. So on that first count, which is homicide, open murder in the first degree, premeditated murder, you said you didn't think about it. Well, truth is, you don't need to think about it for a day before anything like that. I think when you saw that fight, you said, hey, he dishonored the girl that you knew, but you didn't have a real close connection. She was a connection of yours, but not a close connection. And I'm gonna shoot him. And that was the video that got shown.
That's wild,
up here from the adjacent house that said, you know, had your voice in it saying that.
Now, hold on. You ain't about to do that. That wasn't even my voice. The family already said that was his voice. He said, I'm gonna shoot you, motherfucker. The family said that shit.
You can tell it to the Court of Appeals and see if they buy it. That's not the sole reason. But I'm just saying, you thought about this ahead of time and you decided, well, that's what you're going to do. And I just walked through the events. The sentence is one that you earned here.
You better chill out, bro. Clark been waiting for this for the last 6 months. And did you hear what the judge said? He said you could tell it to the Court of Appeals. Maybe they'll buy it. God, this judge, you know, he's treacherous, but in a very nonchalant way.
But I'm just saying, you thought about this ahead of time and you decided, well, that's what you're going to do. And I just walked through the events. The sentence is one that you earned here, and that is a sentence of mandatory life imprisonment without parole. That is, you'll be in the Michigan Department of Corrections until you die.
What you about to sit there and lie and say that what was said, what was said?
Like they say, anything I say you can take up with the Court of Appeals. The count 2 here is a felony firearms possession by the weapons. This is the same thing I should have sentenced you on the first time. This time I am going to sentence you on it. It will be 7 years. Your guidelines there were supplied by the Department of Corrections.
Let him breathe for a second, Bobby.
And I had them in front of me. 24 to 76 months. That is, I guess that's 6 years at the high end, and so it'll be 6 years to 20 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. That will be
plus the life
with the mandatory life sentence. In addition to that, you do have 2 felon in possession of firearms charges or felony firearm charges. Those both result in mandatory 2-year sentences that are served prior to and consecutive to counts 1 and 2. 2.
Them shower shoes are
in those
smogged
cases, you
out,
both serve
man.
2 years without credit.
Looking like the
prior to
Roadrunner.
Consecutive to the mandatory life without parole.
Look at his attorney.
You do have 457 days of jail credit that will apply on counts number.
I mean, what do you expect, man? You can't just come in there blasting people in the back, washing mace off their face. That party, by the way, sounded like it was absolutely buck wild. Remind me never to go any selling parties out in Grand Rapids.
You also owe money in the cases. You owe $1,000 in court costs, $130 crime victim rights assessment, and $272 in state costs. I will order that those amounts be garnished from any wages you earn in the prison. Finally, on the probation violation, the one I should have put you away on before and didn't.
Oh, more?
That case is also a felon in possession of a firearm.
No, it's felony in possession of ammunition.
Ammunition case. Stand corrected. You corrected
stand
is
corrected
that.
again.
And on that one, I will sentence you to 2 to 5 in the Michigan Department of Corrections with 98 days credit that you had at the time of the violation. That will be served concurrent with the counts that I just announced, with the exception of those 2 felony firearms, which are served prior to the other one. So they will be concurrent with count the other the firearms possession by a felon. These are all final, and any fines and probations revoked in that case. However, any fines and costs you still owe do remain in place, and again, I'll deduct them from any prison wages. So you do have the right to appeal me.
Yes, appeal.
I'll get you the form. I'll appoint a lawyer who will represent you on that appeal. If you want to appeal but you can't afford to hire your own attorney, that's what that purple form is for. Fill it out. You do need to return it to me within the next 6 months, or I'd have to deny the request. But this time, this matter is concluded, and I will dismiss you into the custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections at Jackson.
But look, this is a face of determination, I'm not going to lie. If I were to bet, he's going to be sitting in that jail for like the next 5 years fighting his case.
All right. I'm back.
Follow the smoke trail, buddy. But that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode of the day. If you did and you're new, don't forget to tap that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave. But my condolences go out to the victim's family as always. And stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. I actually do have about 300 more sentences I could be bringing your way. Man, we have unlimited amount of content. I told y'all that when we first started, man. I honestly didn't think we were going to take it into the courtroom. But y'all love it and I love it. And these guys absolutely deserve it. At least the majority of them that I bring on this channel. And if they don't deserve it, then it's a learning experience. Once you get caught up in the mix in the justice system, man, you never know what's going to come your way. Paid attorney, court appointed, it doesn't matter. So with that being said, until the next time, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, stay free.